So I am Vince Donovan. I'm the co-executive director of the East Bay Photo Collective, which is a sponsor of this event. And with me is Anita Gay. She's the other co-executive director. And this talk is part of an event we put together for our annual members exhibition. So the theme of the annual members exhibition was food with a twist, and it was just about whatever food means to you or might mean to you, or whatever happened to you regarding food in the past year and a half. And we got a really incredible range of responses. So that show is probably going to go up at Oakland Photo Workshop, our new gallery space, probably going to open in the first week of December.
For those who aren't aware.
Yeah, we had some storm damage to the gallery, and so everything has been postponed, but that's going to be a tremendous show. And of course, you're all welcome. Shameika, who is our speaker today, she's talking about food photography in conjunction with the food show. And she was also one of the jurors for the show. And so we got the benefit of her expertise in selecting images for the show. So thank you, Shameika, for participating and bringing us some wisdom. And so I'm going to introduce Shameika very briefly. Shameika Ejiasi is an Oakland-based food photographer who has worked with brands ranging from international airlines to local ceramicists. Her clients include American Airlines, the McBride Sisters Wine, and Divine Chocolates. So she will talk about her personal journey in becoming a food photographer and reveal some of the secrets to making exciting images of delicious food photographs. So that's the blurb on our website. Whether that's actually what you're going to talk about, Shameika, so you can talk about whatever the heck you want to talk about, but I had to read the blurb.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay, so that
yeah.
Okay, blurb over. Shameika, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Okay, let's see here. Can I go ahead and share my screen now?
Yeah, please.
Awesome. Okay.
I'm sorry. We're gonna have questions at the end. So Shameika's gonna talk, and go ahead and post comments in the chat. Then we'll open the floor up for questions of all sorts at the end. So thank you.
Hi everybody. I'm Shameika. I go by Meika pretty much everywhere I go. And I'm really appreciative of the East Bay Photo Collective for having me to talk about food photography and what it means to me and how I got here. Yeah, here we go. So I'm Meika. In the daytime, I'm a product marketing manager. That just changed. I was a content marketing manager. But in the evenings and on the weekends, I'm a food photographer. I am a portrait photographer. I just am a photographer. I'll take pictures of anything. I do have some specialties, but I do consider myself just a photographer all around. Photography is just close to my heart. It's what I know I'm supposed to be doing. A lot of people spend many years figuring out, who they are and what they're supposed to be doing. And then, it took me like 23 years to figure out this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I picked up a camera, a real DSLR camera, about 4 years ago, and I haven't put it down since. I love it. It brings me joy. It brings me joy to deliver my photographs to my clients and to see their faces and to read their emails of appreciation. It's just nice. It doesn't feel like work. It's great. It fills me with so much joy. I don't know how to explain it. But yeah. So I'm gonna dive right in by saying there's more than one way to peel a potato. I have a lot of mentors and I read a lot of books and I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and I hear a lot of people saying, you have to light a scene this way, or you should set your scene up this way. And I disagree. I feel like there's many ways to light your scene. There's many ways to set your scene up for a beautiful picture. And so I really embrace the journey in making a picture my own and not really paying attention to what the standards are in the industry. I feel like that's where beautiful pictures are made. And just to go back into talking more about my photography skills, like I'm not just a food photographer. I started off doing portraiture. I would say I've been doing food for about a year and a half. It's pretty new to me. And I kind of owe the kickoff to Joni Simon. I'm not sure if you guys know about her. She's on YouTube. She has great videos about scenes, about accessories, about cutlery, about backdrops, about anything related to food photography. I mean, if I have a question, I start at her YouTube channel. So yeah, food, portraiture, travel photography, street photography. I don't like to be in a silo. And again, that's what I've just heard from mentors and other industry leaders, that you got to choose, you have to pick one. Which one? Who are you? Like, what do you do? What's your niche? And I again, I disagree. I feel like you can do whatever you want. And I love that for me, and hopefully you will love that for you. And then we're going to dive right into some of my recent work. So part-time, I work for Good Eggs. They're a local company in the Bay Area, and they deliver really fresh groceries to families in and around the area. And so this is work that I've done for them. On the left, that's actually a composite of 5 photos that I took separately. I worked with a graphic designer to put them all together. And it turned out to be a really dope infographic. So there's that. And on the right is a shot I did for the same people, Good Eggs. They wanted to showcase some of their coffee selections that they have. And they pretty much give me free reign to do whatever I want. So, they order me the things and then I just set the scene. So that's what I did here. Same client, this is Good Eggs. They were releasing an application, which you can see on the left-hand side. So they wanted to set a scene around just living with the food, an everyday scene where somebody's just eating a snack with some of the items that they were going to offer on the app. And that's what that is. And these are all, all of these, all 3 that I've showed you so far are all one light that I've used at the top of the screen, which you might be able to figure out. It took me a while to get that eye together, but if it's a little bit lighter near a certain side of an image, you can tell that that's where the light is coming from, depending on the editing. So yeah, that's what that is. And then on the right is the owner and operator of Brown Sugar Kitchen here in Oakland. I took her picture when she was crafting a recipe that she was putting together with Good Eggs. So that was very exciting. That was really nice to meet her. She's really dope. She's very funny. And I just kind of captured her crafting a recipe in her own space, in her kitchen at Brown Sugar Kitchen. That was also one light. This was a personal project I did. It's called Corn. And I just wanted to capture what corn on the cob kind of means for me and for my family. These aren't my family members, these are models, they're friends. I just wanted to capture like the essence of this thing. Like corn is always a side and never the star. It's always like, barbecue or, pork chop, or it's just a side vegetable, but there's so much story behind how we get the finished product. Like there's always conversations happening when we're shipping the corn. And there's just so much love around preparing this one vegetable. And I just wanted to capture that. So I actually rented an Airbnb, local in Oakland. And I called my friends over and I said, hey, I know this sounds crazy, but can you guys work with me on this personal project? Like, oh yeah, that sounds great. This is one light that I've used. This is an interesting story. So I'll talk a little bit more about how I get my clients. But I work with this company called McBride Sisters, or Black Girl Magic Wine on the right. And I actually found them by reaching out to them on social media. I said, hey, I'm a food photographer. I really want to learn more about wine photography. You don't have to pay me. And this is also like a topic of conversation where I've had my mentors say, don't say that. Like, you should never not ask for money. But I'm in my own space. I'm learning at my own rate. So I didn't ask for money, which I know it's another conversation for another day. But I didn't ask for money. I said, I just really would love some of your products, take pictures of. I'll share the pictures with you. You can use them however you want to use them. I just want to practice. And they sent me product, and I shot it and they loved it and they actually paid me for it, which was a blessing. But yeah, this is that.
Nice.
And this was my very first big food photography client, Cho Chocolate. I don't know if you guys have heard of them. Mm-hmm. They're in like Whole Foods, and you could probably find them in like major stores like Walmart, Target. Yeah. This was an all-day shoot, my very first all-day shoot. I recently did this was this year. So it's been a steady incline of clients, which I feel very blessed about. But yeah, so this was that. I use this on their social media campaigns, on their website, pretty much everywhere. Okay, so to circle back around to how I find my clients, social media has been so huge for me. People find me on social media. I use a ton of relevant hashtags related to my area, geography, that's what it is. In my geographic realm, so the Bay Area. I also reach out to people via social media. I reach out to people via email, through their contact forms if I want to take pictures for someone. And I would say when I reach out to clients via their contact forms, if I send out 100 emails, maybe 25 of them will get back. And I had to learn that, not everybody is going to want your services. Not everybody is going to understand your pricing. Not everybody is going to want to pay for your services. And that's just the way it is. But somebody will. People do. I've gotten huge clients. So that's just a lesson I've learned. I wanted to share with you all. Like, just keep reaching out, get your quotes set up how it should be set up. Keep trying, keep shooting your shot. It's worth it. It will pay off. And yeah, people find me. So I also, because I was a content marketing manager, now I'm a product manager, I know a few things about SEO, which is search engine optimization. So I make sure that my website is like top tier in terms of just the terms that I'm using, how I'm titling my images, when I'm writing on my website. It's just, there's a little bit of magic behind my website, which gets me in the top ranks on Google. So when people search for Bay Area photographer or Oakland food photographer, I pop up on the first beginning of the search query, maybe like the first 10 results. So if you aren't aware about SEO, I would highly suggest researching or finding somebody to help you with search engine optimization to get your website where it needs to be. And if you don't have a website, that's another conversation we need to have. You better have a website. Okay, so when I'm gearing up for a photo shoot and I have a client, the first thing that I do is I get them on the phone or I meet with them and we just talk about their needs to make sure that I am the right fit for them. I've been in a situation where I just wasn't, like, the project was way too big for me. I just didn't feel comfortable taking on such a huge ask because of where I am in my career. So I'll talk about this a little bit later, but networking and having like a nice community of other photographers and other creatives that you can work with is very important. So what happened with that client, I had to pass them on to somebody who was just a little more seasoned, which was okay to me because I feel that karma is very real. And I always like a glass half full person. I know that things come back to me tenfold, and it has. So I try to pay it forward as much as I can. So with clients that do stick around, that I can work with, we have a meeting, we have an intro call, we solidify a date and a time for the photo shoot. I send my contract, get that signed before I do anything else. We build out a creative brief for shot list, and then we do the shoot. And
excuse me, Shameika, I'm sorry. On your previous slide, it says send contract via third party. What does that mean? So
I don't craft my own contract. I actually have an app that crafts like a very general contract, and then I send it out through an app. So I don't do my own contracts.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So when I am working with a client, or if I'm very dedicated to a personal project, I start with a mood board, just so that I'm making sure that the colors that we're using and the cutlery and the napkins and the plates are complementary. They match. They feel good on the surface. I just want to make sure that the images that I'm crafting feel good to the eye. So that's why I always craft a mood board. And it could be just colors, shapes, textures, examples of what somebody would want to see, examples of a background, something that another artist have done. Yeah, so if you're not doing mood boards, they help exponentially, just because when you're on set and you're scrambling around trying to figure out, what the next shot is supposed to be, you don't want to do that. So if you start with a mood board, you have like a way, they'll have a direction. So yeah, if you're not crafting a mood board, it'll help you, I promise. Learning. So I actually do not touch Photoshop at all. And for the longest time, I was telling people, oh, I don't touch, I just really want, natural looking photos, and I don't need all of that. But it was a lie. Maybe because I could not wrap my head around Photoshop. I just didn't want to like master that beast. It's a big program. I stick with Lightroom to this day. And I've just come to terms with, it's not that, I do like natural photos, that's fine and dandy, but the problem was I just wasn't ready to take on such a huge responsibility that is learning Photoshop. And that's on my list. I'm gonna learn it. And I've come to terms with that. Yeah, so what I like to focus on are classes. Oh, there's a typo in my slide, that's hilarious. Okay, so we're just gonna go there. So as this industry is like forever changing, and we're in the digital realm and there's new tools popping up all the time, I try to always stay on top of it, which is super hard. That's the most time consuming piece, I feel, to food photography, is just learning all the things. And I feel like I'm never bored because there's always something new to learn. So I try to enroll in food photography school, which is actually the name of the school. If you haven't heard of it, you should look it up. It's really great. It's a little expensive, but it's great. What else? Networking. So I try to always let people know that I'm a photographer, no matter where I am, because that's helped me in the past, like get a client or speak to somebody who knows somebody who needs these services. So, if it's appropriate, like if we're having like a chit chat in an elevator and somebody's, oh, what do you do? I'm a photographer. I always lead with that because I feel like that's who I am in my heart. And that's the best way to just get your name out there and get to know people and let people know what you do. I also feel like the community that you build is very important. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten an opportunity from another photographer in the area because they were too busy. They didn't have the time, or they were double booked. I mean, I cannot stress enough how important the community of creatives is, especially now. If you don't have a community, they're out there. I mean, if you want to get to know me, I'd love to get to know you. And you can find people in Facebook groups. I'm a part of like 30 Facebook groups just about Bay Area photography and makeup artists and stylists. And I mean, there's so much you can do on Facebook. It's bananas, and you've got to join some of those groups. I'm also a part of this group called Black Women Photographers. And they have been so great with helping me learn new things and like take a few light courses and just get to know other photographers who are Black in the Oakland area. And then I'm also a part of this group called Loop, which is pretty much the same thing, but it's for everybody. And I can share some links to those if you guys would like later on. And mistakes. Whenever I get feedback from a client, I'm never like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm just gonna keep doing that. No, I take that and I just sit with it, and I roll in some of their critiques in the very next photo shoot. Like I'm very receptive to change. And I think that that's really important as a photographer. That's how I started using contracts, and that's how I started using a calendar, and that's how I started going out to scope places. If I was doing portraiture, I would go out the day before to check out some new places. I mean, feedback is, you just got it. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes what people have to say, it hurts a little bit, but it has made me a better photographer for sure. So, tapping into self-care, I think the first thing that I learned the hard way was burnout. So now I take plenty of breaks. I make sure that the projects that I'm taking on mean something to me that I can relate with. It's not always just about the money. I've had to pass up gigs where they paid so good, but I was gonna have to take like a day off from my 9 to 5, which I have also done that. But sometimes I've just had to pass on things because it was just so daunting, and it was just so rigorous. And I had like several other projects that were similar to that back to back. And I knew like I was just gonna be burnt out if I took on this huge project. So I tried to space out my photo shoots. I try to, do things that I love outside of photography and mix up my schedule so that I'm not just photography all the time. Like it's not photos every day, all day after work and on weekends. I think that's so important. I think it's important to keep doing the things that you love outside of photography. The one thing I don't ever want to do is get bored with photography or so burned out that I don't want to pick up my camera, because I've been there and it sucks. And I always come back because photography is my love. I can never be too mad at it or tired of it. But it happens. It happens to the best of us. So just take care of your mind. Take a 3-hour bubble bath. Go to the movies. Take a break. You don't have to take every job. Take care of your mind.
Meika, this is obviously this topic is resonating with lots of folks, and this is a really inspiring slide with a real inspiring message. And of course, the image is very inspiring as well. Like you've got this kind of one-two punch about this strong message. And I just wanted to ask. I know we're going to save questions for later. I want to jump in with this because folks are resonating with this message. How did you pair this image with this message?
I think it's because I have this deep love for chocolate. And I I don't know, it felt right. And I know that's like a weird answer. And sometimes when people ask me like, how are you pairing this plate with this background? Like, I don't get it. Like, what's the science? I'm like, listen, I can't tell you. It just feels right. So that image just felt right. I'm sorry. That's like a scientific.
No, that's kind of exactly what I was wondering about, because in some ways it's obvious, like, oh, chocolate is a treat. But the treatment, how you have the chocolate arranged here is, is very architectural. In some ways it's a real abstract image, but we're all getting this feeling of, taking care of your creativity, nurturing your energy that's really coming from the words as well as the image really successfully.
I appreciate that. I guess you can say, like every shoot I do, that I leave a piece of me there, and I can assume that that's why I chose that. There's pieces of me in all these photo shoots, and constantly giving pieces of myself away. Like, if I can't fill up my own cup, then what am I at the end of the day? So self-care is so important. And I don't want to lose myself in this craft. I love to pour myself into my projects, but I have to refill myself with the things that I love. And just so I can recoup some of those pieces, so I have more to give. Hope that makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. That's it, y'all. Short, but thank you. I would love to chat through a few things, answer some questions. Also, all of the pictures that I have here, I shot them all and I styled them all. I've never worked with a stylist before. I feel like, well, this is a mood board, so I didn't do any of these. But everything else is mine.
Well, Shameika, before we open up for questions, I'd like to ask a couple questions. First, to start about lighting, that you mentioned that you use one light in a lot of these, and can you flip back a few, further back, one more. I really love that. This one. I'm sorry, go forward. This one, I think this is one you mentioned specifically that used one light. And I thought it was very interesting because there's almost no shadow. So I was very curious about the type of lighting that you did here. And
so at Good Eggs, we have a studio space in Oakland. It's in Jack London, and it's a really tiny studio space. It's so small. And I have one speed light, and a huge diffuser. Like, it's like a big sheet. It's probably 7 feet by 9 feet.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, that's big.
And it stays there. Like, we always it's their brand. They want to make sure everything that there's, and if you can tell, that marble backdrop is pretty much the same. Like, I don't shoot on anything else. So their brand is really bright and really diffused imagery. They don't like harsh shadows. So that's where that huge diffuser comes in. And also, I'm not going to lie, editing, Lightroom, I have to like crank up all the images, like in terms of the shadow, like making sure my shadows aren't too dark and making sure the colors are really popping. So yeah, it's half just that one image and that, or the one light, the diffuser, and editing, a heavy editing, just makes sense,
But it doesn't look artificial to me. It has a very very natural look to it. I think it's really successful in that way, and that that it's very approachable because it's the lack of shadows, but it doesn't at all look artificial. And I also noticed that it seems like in a lot of your images you have some food product that has spilled. Is that one of your trademarks?
Yeah, nobody's ever noticed that. So I don't really like photos that are too pretty, because they just seem so, like it's gonna be in a magazine and it's not very approachable, it's not very friendly. But life is not like that. Like, I spill like my boyfriend gets on me all the time, I'm so clumsy. There's always some crumbs, right? When you're cooking, not everything is perfect. And I feel like people find comfort in images like that where it looks lived in. Like, you know, this is my home too. Like my home looks like this when I cook, when I'm eating a snack, when I'm feeding my kids. So I really like that a lot. I'm glad you picked up on that.
Okay, I think so. We talked about the lighting. It's very interesting about that really large diffuser. And so you said that you don't work with a stylist, or you haven't worked with a stylist in the past. So this is all your setups. I think someone asked, do you cook as well? Is any of this food that you cooked?
So
I guess the corn would come in that category, right?
Actually, we didn't even cook that corn. We just those pictures. And
this is a absolute wonder. That was very interesting to hear that this is a personal project. It really has so much emotion to it. It really does feel entirely personal.
Thank you. I don't know where that came from. I just wanted to, and you know, honestly, I wanted to make a timeline of the corn. So I planned on going to like a farm where there was corn being grown to take pictures of like where it starts and where it ends. And I just never got around to it. It's like a work in progress. I do eventually like want to get them back so we can cook it and go out to that farm so I can take pictures of where the corn comes from. And even I planned on going to a grocery store to take pictures of that big old trash can they normally put out by the corn, so you can like throw all the leaves in the trash bin, like the corn piles. I just never got around to it.
Those are my top. How about Shameika, if you'd like to stop sharing your screen, and then I'll read some questions off the chat, and then we'll also open it up for discussion.
Okay.
So Barbara Davidge asks, she has two questions. One, would love to know more about your project with American Airlines, if you can talk about it. And do you aim to make photography as your sole career someday?
People ask me that all the time. Okay, the first question, American Airlines. So they actually found me, listen to this, guys, from that group, Black women photographers, because they wanted to work with diverse photographers in the Oakland area. So another reason why all of those groups that I mentioned, and there's way more groups, there's like hundreds of groups that you can be a part of, that where people know other people, or they have connections, or, you know, a company wants to work with a certain group. There's so many groups that you can be a part of. And I feel like if your name is out there over and over and over again, there's just more of an opportunity for you to be found, and for people to tap into your creative angles. So American Airlines, they reached out to me because they wanted some pictures of 5 local places in Oakland to put into their in-flight magazine. It's called, I think it's called American Way. Yes, American Way. And I have the actual piece that they released on my website. Can I share my screen again?
Yeah, please.
Here it is.
Nice.
So I went to Hip Hop Juice Box. I went to It's All Good Bakery. I went to Marcus Books. There's another one. Oh yes, this guy right here. The Town Cycles, and they already had this stock image right here. But they just wanted to showcase some really dope Black businesses in the Oakland area, and they reached out to me, and I probably cried for like 4 weeks because
Yep, we've all been there.
So yeah, I mean, yeah. And I think now that I have American Airlines, I guess in my belt loop, that sounds so corny, but it's there. Other brands see that, other big brands, big box brands see that, and they say, okay, she's responsible enough, she's good enough to work with a big brand like this. Maybe I can use her for my brand as well. And I kid you not, like after I put this on my website, after I started communicating, I shot this from the mountaintops, like, yeah. Other brands have reached out. I actually have a huge retailer contacting me to do a photo shoot, which I can't tell you too much about, but It's pretty big. And that will come hopefully by the top of the next year. And I feel like when I get brands like this, other brands really recognize, and I'm just very blessed that they found me.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Quick question about this one. Did you pick the locations and then they followed up to make that part of the piece, or did they assign you the locations?
Good question. They had the locations down already. They gave me the list.
Mm-hmm.
They gave me the names of the managers to talk to, and I just scheduled it around my schedule to get out there and take the pictures.
And did you walk in and start shooting? How did you prepare for each location?
That's a good question. I called ahead to make sure that, hey, I don't want you to freak out when somebody comes into your place of business with this big old camera. I introduced myself and we scheduled a time for me to come in and take the picture. So yeah, I would never like pop up unannounced out of respect. Also because this was like, when was this? It was earlier this year. So, I mean, COVID is still bad. I want to say that, but earlier this year, people were still like, there weren't as many people on the streets. People were, constantly ordering groceries. People just weren't out and about. So I had to like be very respectful of people's space and their time. And actually Hip Hop Juice Box, there was nobody in there. They weren't even opening up their restaurant for people to come in. So the owner had to make sure that we had the same schedule so that he could come and open the door and set up for me. It was the whole thing. Yeah.
Great to hear about your experience doing that. A couple questions. Anita wants to know if you used some window light for the corn scene.
Like just natural lighting?
Yeah.
Oh, I was wondering if you had said there was one light, and I was wondering if there was also natural light, or if it was just if the shades were drawn and it was a strobe.
Yeah. No, the windows were open, the shades weren't drawn, so that was there, but all of the overhead lights were off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just looks, it's so flooded with light. It's very interesting.
Girl, that's edited, let me tell you.
Fair enough.
Beatrice has a vote for she can, so she's imbibing as we speak probably. Kayla Plank asks, do you make any dishes you take photos of? We talked about the corn. Mm-hmm. Who made the chocolate dip strawberries for the show shoot?
They did that. There was like a whole production, like a amount of people there. There was probably 15 people at this Airbnb that they rented. I just showed up with my lighting assistant and took the pictures.
What's it like shooting when people are preparing food?
Honestly, I feel like it's a little bit easier. It gives me time to like set up and relax and get to know other people who are on the set. It can take a while. Like if they do not prep beforehand, it can take some hours. And that's something I learned from that shoot. Like if you guys want certain meals taken pictures of, or if you want, if you have 15 products you want me to take pictures of, make sure you prep that beforehand, because otherwise we're going to sit here for 4 hours. So yeah, it can be time consuming.
Speaking of hours, Lisa Ellis asks about pricing.
Yes.
How do you handle that?
Oh God. This is something I feel like I haven't mastered. I know that's gonna sound, I feel like I haven't gotten that all together. And those groups I mentioned, all of those photography groups, all of those Facebook groups, I'm constantly in them on my lunch break, on the weekends, whenever I have downtime, because everybody's talking about pricing. And there are resources that I found through those groups where you can get professional breakdowns of quotes, where people are referencing like creative licensing fees, which I cannot wrap my head. Don't ask me a thing I don't know. Mm-hmm. I'm still learning. But so honestly, when I first moved here about 1.5 years ago from Philly, I was about 2 years into my photography career, and I was charging $125 for 3 hours of work, and I was getting like 125 pictures, which was bananas, right? And so when I moved to the Bay and my rent tripled, I tripled that that number just for portraiture. So right now I charge $300 for headshots, for an hour's worth of work, outdoor photography, and I'll give like 8 to 10 pictures. And I always give a little more, like I'll give 15 just to be nice. People appreciate that and they remember that and they come back to me. But food is just so, it's so different. Like I have to do a ton of research when people ask me for quotes for like 15 pictures of their dishes. And I always like overshoot it. I never, if I say, oh no, that's a big number. Like if I, like the Cho shoot, I did my due diligence. I did my research. I asked like, how long am I going to be there for? How many images do you want? What are you going to use them for? Do you want all of the rights so that you can use it for billboards and for social media and websites? I asked all those questions, and I gave them a rate of $5,500, and I overshot it. I said, okay, how much would I really take? I would do that. I would have done it for free because it was so amazing. Like I still feel so new. You know, I still feel so like it's surreal how these brands are reaching out to me. I feel like I'm not good. I have imposter syndrome like you would not believe. And then I snap out of it. And then, you know, it's just a cycle.
How that imposter syndrome.
Yes. But yeah, no, I gave them a big number and they came back with something else. I was close to that number and I felt like, oh my gosh, of course I'll do this. But yeah, lots of research and it's out there. If you want to see quotes from different photographers, from like these photographers who travel the world and take pictures of these beautiful dishes in different countries, like that information is out there. I've seen quotes where people are charging like $142,000 for a photo shoot. It's crazy.
That's pretty much what I charge. That's, you know, you only got to get one of those and you're set.
Right. Yes.
Let's see. Nick asks, do you find your experience with food photography has influenced the way you shoot portraits or other work? And I would add, or is it the other way around? Is the way you shoot portraits influence your food?
That's a good question. I mean, I guess there is influence that goes both ways. But I don't use the same, I don't research for my mood boards and my inspo on the same platforms.
Right.
So yeah, I guess yes and no.
Pamela mentions, Pamela, I'm going to ask you to expand on your recommendation about hiring a producer. What do you mean by that? Pamela, you're muted. You're still muted. Still muted. No.
I concur though, Pamela. I'll tell you that right now.
All right. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, I don't know if you guys know, but I was a photo stylist for many years.
Oh, say it again?
I was a photo stylist for many years, doing food shoots. And I mean, when you have complicated photo shoots, you hire a producer to write up the contracts, come up with the best price. You know, they kind of work with you on producing a big production. If you have like phone numbers of people that's another thing, like being in the Bay and not knowing very many, and we moved in at the height of the pandemic. And so getting to know other creatives in the pandemic has been so hard. So if you guys know of any like producers and food stylists, please that you trust, send them my way. And I would love to like. Are you in the SF Image Makers group on Facebook? They have tons of producers and they have lists for anything you need to produce a photo shoot.
I'm looking for them right now. Thank you for that. SF Makers?
It's a private group, so you have to be invited into it. I don't know if anybody I think there's a few folks that are in there.
Yeah.
I know Rose Borden is in it. Jessica, are you in the SF Image Makers group? There's a few people that are in it that I can probably invite you. I'm not friends with you on Facebook. It has to be through a friend, but it's a great resource if you're doing big productions. And I mean, if you have legal questions, how to write up contracts and all that kind of questions, or you can get answers from people in that group.
Yes, please, anybody, friend me.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Pamela. Thanks we'll friend each other, and Pamela is a wonderful resource and photographer on top of everything, and a EBPCO co-founder, early adopter, whatever you want to say. Beatrice asks, have you worked with models other than friends, and any experience or advice on working with models?
Yes, I have. And I also use certain Facebook groups to do like a model call. And sometimes you get so many people responding and dropping their Instagram information. It's bananas. I've added countless people from those Facebook groups to collab on a shoot with, free shoots, TFPs. Yeah, I've worked with a ton of models. There's always somebody willing to help you out. Even if you just want to get out and play, they're there. And I also research, if I'm looking for models, I'll look at hashtags on Instagram. So Bay Area model, or Oakland model, or SF model. Like I'm constantly doing research, trying to, beef up my creative team.
Shameika, how often do you get out and play? How often do you just try something?
Honestly, a little bit less now. But when I first moved here, all the time, like that's what I was doing in my free time. I shot every day.
Wow.
Every day,
Mm-hmm.
to every weekend, and now it's like every other weekend. But yeah, photography is what you give it. I believe that wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Okay, I think we have got a couple of friend offers, and I think we got through all the questions. Lisa Ellis really likes your mold board. Good job. Anyone else? Anyone wants to speak up and ask a question? Any follow-ups about what we've seen? We've learned so much and seen such great work.
Meika, could you put your Instagram and whatnot in the chat? I know Deanna said that she found it. I just wanted to make sure we had your correct info so we could all stalk you.
Yeah, for sure.
Here's a good parting shot from Kai, which is, what inspires and motivates you to keep shooting?
Kai's actually my boyfriend.
There we go. That's what it's
in the living room right now.
Yeah, you can say Kai does, then
yeah,
you get some points.
Maybe that was a fishing for a compliment.
Right. What keeps me going? I love it. I really don't know. I wish I could give you this feeling that I feel right now when I talk about photography, when I'm behind my camera. It just feels good. And I also wanted to circle back to somebody else's question. I didn't answer it fully. They asked if I would be a photographer full time.
Shameika, your audio dropped out.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
I would not do photography full time. Unless I had like huge gigs that would hold me over, so that I could pay my bills. If I had like 5 or 6 huge projects that would hold me over, then yes, I would. But just the constant chase for money as a photographer is not it. Like it's so hard. And it's just like, when am I gonna get a client? When am I gonna get my next gig? And there's just so many like personal factors, right? Like right now, Kai and I are actually expecting our first child.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. So that is like, I cannot be playing around with trying to figure out money for bills. So that goes into a personal reason as to why I want to do something full time relating to like my master's degree, as opposed to what I love so much, which is photography. There's too many uncertainties. I wish I could. If it was easy, if I didn't have anything to lose, then yeah, I would. But life is life, and bills don't stop. So, and I also don't think I'm senior enough. Maybe in like 10 years, yeah, 15 years, yeah. But I'm still new. Like, I'm still learning. You guys are teaching me things right now. I didn't know about that Facebook group. I'm just now learning about producers and stuff. So, this is like a non-stop journey. And I'm so happy to be on the ride.
Well, thank you so much. And we'll check in with you every year, and we'll see where we are in 10 years. But thank you so much. This was a wonderful presentation and really inspiring.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everybody, for coming and sharing the evening, and for your questions and thoughts. Don't forget us East Bay Photo Collective, the sponsor, and you can go to epco.org/events and see what events we have coming up. There's a photo walk this Sunday.
Yep, this Sunday, 1 o'clock. We're meeting at the Aloha Club since the gallery is under maintenance.
So a lot of our November events are postponed because of the gallery repairs. But photo walk going ahead, rain or shine. If it's raining, we might start the Aloha Club, and
we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
We've all been on that kind of photo walk.
But thank you so much, Shameika. This was amazing.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Get everybody. Stay safe. Stay creative. Have a great evening. And adios.